All right, guys, we're back. It is actually February 2nd, Monday, 2026 right now. So it is the beginning of cutting season, which you guys are going to help me do. So I've got to get my steps in every day. My goal is to lose 10 pounds by May so I can be nice and ripply for beach season. So I appreciate you watching these videos and keeping me company while I get my steps in. By the way, I do have a microphone coming in that I'll mount on the wall over here. It should help with the audio, reduce the treadmill nonsense, right? But anyway, today's topic. It's an interesting one. What we're going to talk about, sorry, I drank pre-workout, is should you just be yourself? And what does that mean? Just be yourself, bro. How does that relate to dating? How does that relate to you as a man? How does that relate to women? All the things, if we have time. Just be yourself. Or another way to word it is like, a man will usually be like, I just want to be loved for who I am. Same with women, to be fair. Everybody just wants to be loved for who they are. That's why the advice of just be yourself is so prevalent. Now, the problem, so let's start with the problems of it. The problem with just be yourself is usually that advice comes from men who have lived their entire lives through the lens of just being themselves, and they've been rewarded for such behavior. I've kind of been on both sides of that fence a little bit, where I realized that being myself wasn't working, but also being myself was working. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This channel is growing. Get this content out to more people. Help more people that need this information of a more relaxed take, trying to help everybody in this struggle that we're all in. What I mean by that is men that are generally more attractive and naturally charismatic, extroverts, if you will, just be yourself, bro, is advice that works for them. Obviously, right? That's why it's so difficult to give men advice on what they should be doing. You know, it's interesting. Maybe we'll save this for another video, but generic male dating advice or social dynamics or intergender dynamics advice doesn't really work in general unless you actually meet the guy in real life, maybe over a Zoom call. You gotta know what he looks like. You gotta know how confident he is. You gotta know what his eye contact is like. There's so many layers deep to it that, so back to the topic, when somebody's like, just be yourself, bro, that can simultaneously be the best advice for somebody and also the worst advice for somebody. Now, the person on over here, where it might be the worst advice for them ever, just be yourself, bro, or I want to be loved for who I am. Now, that doesn't, so here's the problem. For men and women, if you are a terribly negative person and you're very pessimistic and you're very victim mindset, this goes for both genders, right? You're like, somebody's like, I want to buy this lamp for my backyard. And then your partner is like, oh, that lamp doesn't look good there. Did you research all the pros and cons of that lamp? I heard that lamp was bad. It's just yeah, you're being yourself, but nobody wants to be around that shit. Do you know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to engage with another human that's like that. So the idea of I should be loved for who I am, it doesn't actually work in that context. Now, here's the thing about just be yourself, bro. We have a multitude of versions of ourselves. We have a multitude of access to versions of ourselves. The best way to think about it is, if you just won $1 million from the lottery, there's that version of you. It's still you. Then there's the version of your girlfriend just dumped you, you just got fired, you lost your license because you were speeding or something, and you're just down bad. That's also still a version of you. It's the same person. So let's put it this way. You won $1 million, you got a hair transplant, you got liposuction, you did all the things, you got a gym membership, you got steroids. Now you're like the ultimate 10 out of 10 Giga Chad. But it's still you. You're still the same person. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just that that person is exhibiting different micro mannerisms and behaviors than the person that's lost it all, right? So that's why the argument of just be yourself, bro, again, is the best and the worst advice. Now, where men fail on this one is they're like, if I can't be loved for who I am, does that mean all women and all humans are transactional? And I think we have to define what the word transactional actually means, because it's tough, man. You know that whole meme where it's like, if she doesn't love me at my worst, she doesn't deserve me at my best. Yeah, I know, I get it, man, I get it. It's, and I do the same thing. Let me back up for a second. Man, it's so tough. Okay. I don't think there's a right or wrong here, right? So let's take this example in the context of a man-to-man friendship, right? Let's say if I have a buddy who's doing very well in life in general, he's slaying chicks left, right, and center, his money is on point, his freedom is on point, his parents are healthy, everything's good, right? That person, coincidentally, will be much more fun to hang out with because they're high on life, right? They're funnier, they're more charismatic, they're making good jokes, they can go on more fun trips. There's a lot of upsides to hanging out with that person. And it really just comes down to vibes, right? Now, that same dude, when he's down bad, he's lost it all, he's jumping from job to job, can barely afford his rent. Every time you hang out with him, he just wants to pick your brain about how to make money, and then he just talks for like 8 hours, and he doesn't execute on any actions or any ideas, and he just like burns you out. He's literally a drain on your energy now. He's still the same guy. You still have the same love and care for that guy, but he's no longer enjoyable to hang out with. In fact, when you do hang out with him, he's bringing your energy level down. So you slowly stop hanging out with him. You're like, I don't want to be around this poison. I'm going to slowly step away over here. Does that make you a bad person or not? I guess that's kind of debatable, right? But does that mean that your friendship is transactional? And does that mean that every human on this planet is transactional with another one? I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know, dude. It's such a crazy. I think, you know what I think it is? I think we as humans evolved to build friendships and relationships with those, like other humans, with those that can either elevate our position or provide a co-benefit in some way, right? I think we just evolved that way. And then now with the age of social media, we're it's almost like a human awakening, like a global human awakening, where we actually have the capability and the self-awareness to talk about such things. And then when we actually talk about it and write it down, it's like, I only want to hang out with this person if they're funny or they have good vibes. And if they're down bad on their luck, I don't want to hang out with them. And then when you actually put it down on a piece of paper, it seems very cruel and it seems very inhumane, kind of, doesn't it? When, 1,000 years ago, that would have been the expected norm. So it's just interesting how that works, right? Now, when I say transactional, a lot of men will think like so back to human and female kind of relationships. And a lot of men content creators will be like, well, you have to provide value in order to be loved, right? You have to provide the woman money. You have to provide her with a lifestyle. She doesn't fall in love with you. She falls in love with the lifestyle, all that kind of stuff, right? And then when you actually come to that realization, what actually is that? She has a goal. She views you as a human that can help her achieve that goal. Therefore, she's attracted to you. Therefore, she might love you, right? And in the back of your mind, you're like, if I didn't provide any of this stuff, and it's so tough, dude. It's like, I really feel on both sides of the fence on this one. I feel, man, because it's like, you married a girl for like 10 years and you have like one bad year and she bounces because she's scared and she's in self-preservation mode. So you have like 10 years of you being on point and providing value and 1 year of where you're just having a hard time and your girl isn't a ride or die. There are no ride or dies, by the way. That doesn't exist. Your girl is not a ride or die, and she bounces she sees the ship sinking, and she bounces, and she chooses the government to take care of her and take half your money and with divorce and all that. And you're like, God damn, so what's the point of having any friends? What's the point of having any relationships at all if you're only loved for providing value? Now, this can also be flipped as much of a, this video is interesting. It's not an attempt to like, woe is me type of thing. It's more like we're having a discussion with both genders and maybe somebody has a solution to this, right? So, in the context of a woman, let's flip the script now. As much as men are, I want to be loved for me and all this nonsense, right? Flip the script for a second. A woman, let's take a 30-year-old woman, for example. I got a good example. When I date, let's say I got my phone out, right? And I'm texting 20 chicks. How do you think I filter them? I filter them based on their looks and their health, how funny they are, their economic situation, their familial situation. Like every man has their different criteria or whatever, right? Their availability, all that kind of shit. And how much they're into you and whatnot. But the girl at the bottom, I have a specific girl in mind. At the bottom of the list here, she's a fun girl. She's very funny. And she's very cute. But she can't have kids. She had some kind of surgery or something. So I know she can't have kids. She's 36 now. So I know her looks are going to decline rapidly now, right? And she's broke as hell. So on the flip side, I don't it's transactional the other way too, where it's like, I don't want to date that chick because she doesn't provide as much value as I do to her, right? So does that mean that that woman should just be herself, bro, and then a man should love her for who she is? I don't know. That's the thing. So even when, why do you think there's such a, let's zoom out for a second. Why is there such a large loneliness epidemic? Because nobody wants to love each other for who they are. That's the whole crux of the entire problem. Both genders. You have all these damn incels that will not date a fat cow. They won't do it. They think they deserve better, or they're not attracted to her. They don't want to, she's got like rabies or some shit, who knows? Even the incel guy isn't gonna date a 1 out of 10. So even that guy, as much as that guy complains about being transactional, he's also being transactional. He's like, you need to look a certain way for me to actually want to transact with you. So it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Now, what is evil and what is good is the question here. So like, where's the bell curve on what's acceptable for a transaction and what's acceptable as a now you're just being shallow or a piece of shit, right? Like where does that line stop? Do you know what I'm saying? So that's why I think there is a good enough paradigm, which is kind of how I approach it, where you just, this goes for both genders, you just kind of have to meet the good enough category just to make the transaction between both people not seem so one-sided, or like one person is giving up so much more than the other one, right? So what I wanted to say in terms of actually men, again, back to the men side of things, just be yourself. We'll get into some actual tangible advice now. You know, this is a personal philosophy of mine. A chick friend of mine was asking me some personal questions the other day because she's going through a hard time. And I'm like, oh yeah, I went through all that same stuff about like a year ago, et cetera, et cetera. She's like, wow, I had no idea. You always seem so positive. So here's the thing. I think this is a point that both genders really struggle with, is that nobody cares about your problems. Coincidentally, what is the easiest way to attract a woman from a man's point of view? Well, I've talked about this before. You sit there and you make her feel seen. What does that mean? You listen to her problems. That's it. The easiest way to attract a woman is to pretend like you give a shit, when you really don't. Because you know, if you were complaining to her, she wouldn't give a shit. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit about anybody else's problems. Do you know what I'm saying? So, it's my personal philosophy and how I approach life is I never burden other humans with my problems. Ever. If you need to, you have to go hire a professional therapist, or you have to go hire somebody to talk to. And then a lot of people will be like, well, I'm paying them to listen to me, therefore that's transactional. Trust me, bro. You're gonna be, if you need to vent your problems to somebody, you're gonna be paying in one way or another. If you vent all your problems to your guy buddies, they're gonna pull away from you and you're gonna lose those friendships. So you paid in those friendships. Nobody gives a shit. You might as well pay somebody with cash and get them to actually give you some tangible advice on how to fix your problem. Do you know what I'm saying? Or if it's just like a family member passed away or whatever, yeah, talking to somebody does help about that. Still, you should hire somebody. But again, my personal philosophy, never ever burden anybody with your problems. Never. Because the goal is, if you know how like the spirals are a real thing, downward spirals, upward spirals? You have to pretend that you are always on an upward spiral at all times. You have to be the version of yourself that just won $1 million. All the time. You need to be the version of yourself who has 10 women lined up outside his door ready to suck his dick at all times. That way you never put up with nonsense. You're selective of your friend groups. You are attracting other positive people towards you that might give you better business opportunities. You're attracting higher quality, happy women, etc. You need to be the version of yourself that is a 10 out of 10. Doesn't matter if you're fat. Doesn't matter if you're broke. It doesn't matter if you're homeless. Doesn't matter if you're sleeping outside of your car. You are this guy you just got kicked out on the street. You're like, I'm happy playing with my banjo. Doesn't matter. Never, ever, ever complain. Never, ever whine. Never, never show that you're down bad. Even if you are. Doesn't matter. Because, and again, back to the original point of the entire video, why is just be yourself, bro, such bad and good advice at the same time? Because if you are on top of your game and you're a 10 out of 10, or you can pretend, if you can fake it till you make it, just you're always the 10 out of 10 happy guy. Nothing bad happens. Nothing bad ever happens. You never complain. Well then, just be yourself is the best advice that you can have. If you're a whiner, a doomer, incel, blaming the world for your problems, being yourself is the actual worst advice that you can have. Nobody will ever love that version of you. They will only love this version of you. They're not going to love this one. So if you're down here and you can't seem to get here and fake it till you make it, then it's your job to work through one thing at a time. Like just assume that you're not going to have any friends. Assume that nobody's going to help you. Assume that nobody gives a shit about you. You're down here. Get a better job. Get a better place. Find some meaning in life. Just slowly hit the gym. Slowly level up in what tangible way. Go see a therapist. Whatever. Slowly try and convert this version of you into the guy that you know that you would become if you were a multi-millionaire and you had bitches lined up outside your door. You can work backwards from this. You already know how you would act. Isn't that funny? It's like we as men, we already know how we would act if we were the best of everything. You know how cocky you would be? You know how intolerant of bad behavior you would be? You would be the guy abandoning all these people. You'd be like, you're toxic, get away from me. Do you know what I'm saying? You already know how you would act if you were this person. And that's why all of these people hate the people that are over here, because these people have standards and boundaries. These people don't. These people think that we should all just be loved for who we are, and friends should just be friends. It's not how life works, unfortunately. It's not. So if you already know how you would be If you were here, 10 out of 10. Start acting like that today. You're just that guy already. And then, the same goes for women to a certain degree. But if you're already there, see what happens when you start acting like that. See what kind of reality you're going to start manifesting for yourself with women, with business, with money, with your friendships, everything. That doesn't mean to be a jackass. You're still the nice guy. You're still, you weren't born here, you evolved here. So you know what both sides are like. You don't shit on these people. You also don't have to help them either. You just feel sorry for them. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, guys, that's it for this one. Are all human relationships transactional? They are. Unfortunately, we were just evolved this way because otherwise, if they weren't transactional, what would be the point in engaging them in them? Right? It's unfortunate, but that's the reality. We'll dive deeper into this one in another video, but don't forget to hit the subscribe button, share this video with others, comment down below if you think my take on this is right or wrong. See you guys in the next one.